What's going on, guys? This is Martyrs Brigade 99 coming to you once again with another session of Dark Souls commentary. Alright guys, this particular video, what we're going to do is there's some information out there with regard to parries, weapons you can parry, weapons you can't, techniques you can parry against, techniques you can't, right? And some of the harder weapons to parry. And we're going to cover a lot of those weapons, right, to try to clear up some misinformations out there or to shed light on things that perhaps you didn't know. Right, so let's just go ahead and dive into it. Now, if you guys have been watching my channel, you will know that I have a thing against this ridiculous falcon, right? Because I've been faced against them, especially the Blade of the Dark Moon Covenant dudes who will buff that, and I mean they chop away at me, right? And originally I was under the belief that the take one hit technique that we kind of put out in the first video did not work on this weapon, but thanks to my trusty Parry partner, my sparring bud, good old short dude 123, I realized that you can. Right, and as you guys see, this is the one-handed attack, and we're going to go into the more deadly two-handed attack. Right, because I don't know if it was psychological or what, but when I saw those falcons running at you with a buff, I mean, I just kind of freaked. But thanks to my good old sparring partner, I now have no reason to fear this ridiculous weapon. Right, because though it is fast, the only thing we have to worry about is taking the first hit and immediately parrying thereafter. Alright guys, so we kind of put a rest to that. Alright, now the next weapon we're going to talk about. Okay, there's information out there that when it comes to the Claymore and the Moonlight Greatsword, which are relatively faster, right, than the Greatsword of the Great Lord, I think that's the name of it, or the Man-Eater, Greatsword. There's information out there that says in order to parry those weapons, you kind of have to, push forward on your stick, on your controller, and then parry, right? Sort of like the kicking action, but you don't, guys. Now, I'm not saying that method doesn't work. What I am saying is you don't necessarily have to do it in order to successfully parry, right? Because I've parried that the Claymore and the Moonlight Greatsword on many occasions on the second swing, right? So that's not necessary. You don't have to try any fancy, no fancy dancy tactics, right? Now, with regard to the running attacks for the weapons like the Claymores and the Bastard Sword and even the Black Knight Sword, all those can be parried, guys. Right? You see somebody charging at you, don't be intimidated. Now, one thing I will say about that, will I just kind of stand there and have somebody charge at me? No. Right? Because if they overstep themselves, if they kind of take the reticle off for one of those those attacks that you cannot block, you're screwed. Right? But all of these attacks can be parried. Right? Now, the hard thing about it is trying to incorporate all this knowledge into active PvP, right? Because when you have somebody just charging at you, I mean swinging at every opportunity, it's kind of difficult, right? And there's a little pressure. But once you guys get comfortable with it, you don't have anything to worry about. Alright, now, this particular invader interrupted our parry practice. So we're just going to go ahead and throw this bout in. Another reason why I'm throwing it in is because the particular weapon that he's using is very intimidating to a lot of people, right? For a lot of reasons. Especially with those charge attacks. Now, what exactly do I mean charge attacks? I mean those two-handed and one-handed R2 attacks. Now, for all you Xbox players out there, I don't really know what the charge attack is. I don't even know what the controller is. So when I'm saying R2 attack, I mean, right, I'm not being biased. I just don't have knowledge on what the Xbox stick configuration is, right? But it is the charge attack. That thing can be intimidating, especially when you're in the kill, you're getting hit by gankers, or you just have someone kind of back off and they hit you with that, right? It can be intimidating because you think, wow, all that magic, I mean, I'm just going to die. But guess what, guys? Just like I've told people in the past who didn't necessarily believe me, that particular attack can be parried, right? So let's go ahead and take a look at it. Check it out, guys. You no longer, excuse me, have to fear that ridiculous charge attack because it can be parried. Right? Now, this is probably a technique that some of you advanced players want to try. Right? And the reason why I say advanced is because some of the more experienced or so-called advanced players are not necessarily intimidated by certain attacks. Right? One thing about me, especially when I first started the PvP, I was always scared of getting hit. Right? I was always scared of losing vitality and all like that. But guess what, guys? In order for you to get better, you kind of have to lose a lot. I mean, because, let me put it to you this way. When you win all the time, it kind of gives you a false perception of yourself, right? Because you think to yourself like, man, I'm a hotshot dude. Nobody can stop me. But to the extent that you have a lot of losses, there is a great opportunity for you to learn not only about your particular weaknesses, but about some attack, about some move sets and attack techniques of various opponents, right? So this is why I say, for some of you guys who are going to be trying this, listen, you're going to lose a lot, but don't worry about it, guys, because the more you lose, you're still paying attention to what's going on, right? And when you lose and pay attention to detail at the same time, you will realize eventually that you can overcome some tactics that you once feared, right? And this is just one example. You have some guy and he's relatively close to you. Once you get the timing right, you can parry the crap out of this Moonlight Greatsword, right? Just like I'm doing. So we can kind of put an end to the belief out there that this weapon cannot be parried when it goes into the high-speed charge move, right? So that's a myth buster with regard to this weapon. All right, let's see what else we got going on. Now, if you guys notice, in the event you're not familiar, just by looking at it, this is the Black Knight Halberd, excuse me. Now, the R2 attack, just the regular R2 attack, not the push forward R2 attack, but just the regular R2 attack, the strong attack of the Black Knight Halberd, offers a jumping attack animation, right? I remember one time I was in Dark Root and I was faced against gankers, right? Nothing new. I'm not saying anything new. Of course, there were gankers, and I was faced against a guy who was using this particular weapon, right? And in the middle of his jump attack, and actually I didn't even anticipate it. It was kind of like I threw the parry out, but then I noticed that that particular jump attack could be parried, as you guys notice right here. Now, one thing that you guys need to keep in mind with respect to this particular weapon, do not confuse the jumping animation of this weapon with the belief that you can parry jump attacks, because you cannot, guys. We have tested it over and over and over again. As you guys can see, you simply cannot do it. Now, when I say as you guys can see, don't think that it is just, these few attempts in this particular clip, because we both went back and forth trying to parry this attack, and you just simply cannot do it, right? And as you guys can see, we're using a Black Knight sword. Another fancy dancy Black Knight weapon. Now, although in using the Black Knight sword, we cannot parry the jump attack, right? There is an attack you can parry, right? Doing. You can parry that, guys. So in the event you got some guy who's, just kind of standing there and he's trying to pop you off with that attack, you can parry it, right? Just ensure that you're in the right position. Alright guys, now next we're going to go into some of the more difficult weapons to parry. Alright, now, the spam and R1 attack of the Scythe, I think that's the name of this weapon, is relatively easy to parry, right? As you can see, good old short dude is doing a good job at parrying that. But this particular weapon has additional moves that are more difficult to parry. Now, and that's this R2 charge running type of attack. In a lot of cases, you have somebody swinging at you, and especially this is dangerous because it has what they call the dead angle, where you kind of, inflict damage even though the shield is up. Now, even though, this is an intimidating and dangerous move, guess what, guys? This move, too, can be parried. Right? Now, since it is so difficult to parry, I would also suggest a parry attempt for this weapon for some of the more experienced players, right? Because it is very difficult. I tried that a whole bunch of times and I only got a few successful parries, but it is parryable, right? Now, this attack cannot be parried, all right? And this attack basically comes with the clubs, the grants, what else is it? Some of those strength build weapons. You cannot parry that attack. Excuse me. You cannot parry that attack, guys. We tried it over and over again, right? That slam the ground type of attack. You can, however, parry the one arm flip attack, right? Because that's the one where you kind of, you're one-handed it, and as you guys just saw for yourself, you flip and then you do that kind of backward swing. That can be parried, right? Now, on to another weapon, the Rickard's Rapier. As you guys can see for yourself, if you guys see somebody trying to charging at you with the R2, don't even try, guys. I don't care how brave you are, you just simply cannot do it, right? We tried this a whole bunch of times and it cannot be done. Now, I am not saying these weapons can't be blind parried, right? But if you're kind of just trying to hit the parry in the middle of the attack motion, it will not happen, right? Or at least good old short dude and I was not able to do it. Alright, so don't even try it. Don't try to brave it out, dudes. Just trying to kind of escape the best ways you can, right? Alright, now, after we finish our parry practice, my good old sparring partner, he wanted to go for a quick best of 3. Alright, so now that we've practiced our parries, so we're just going to go ahead and do the best out of 3. Alright, guys, so just a quick review. In the event that you guys run into the Claymore and the Moonlight Greatsword in particular, right? And the reasons why I say in particular is because those weapons seem to have a faster swing speed than the Man-Eater or Snakehead, whatever that man serpent greatsword, I think that's the name of it, seems to have a faster swing speed than that particular weapon. Gwyn's greatsword. And a faster swing speed than, let's see, what's another one? I know those in particular, right? And those weapons were really difficult to parry on the second swing, right? And there was information that you had to do the push forward method, but you don't, guys. You just have to be pretty quick on your reflexes, right? So you don't have to worry about trying to use another method and trying to do that. Just try to, get a lot of practice in your PvP, right? And you can go ahead and just attempt it as many times as you can. Like I said, there will be plenty of times where you die and trying to parry all of these particular weapons. But guess what? So what? Who cares about dying, dudes? It's a game. And after all, once you finally get the timing correct, you will start to notice, once you incorporate these methods, that PvP will get a lot easier. Right? Alright guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the second installment of my parry instructions video. I'll let you guys just go ahead and watch the end of this. Alright, stand by for the next vid. Martyrs Brigade.